Look in My Eyes. Written by Eddie Baca. Exterior. A building on New York City's 9th Avenue and 47th Street. Night. A chrome Harley sits on the sidewalk in front of a 4-story building. A biker wearing leather jeans and a blue bandana leans against the building's glass door. An Irish, sickly, pale man approaches the entrance door. The biker shakes his hand and points him to the 3rd floor. Interior. Inside the 9th Avenue clubhouse. Night. The Irishman opens the clubhouse door and walks in. Inside the clubhouse is a coffee and tea counter with condiments. Scattered about are 3 bar stools, tables, and a couch. Near the street windows is a computer counter and 2 ceiling TV monitors above it. Fabrizio, a tall Latino man, 50s, sits at the computer counter, yelling into his cell phone.
What's wrong? My fucking cable and TV isn't working.
On the wall above where the Latino man sits is a New York City business license, which reads, Fabrizio Gutierrez, owner, 9th Avenue Clubhouse, 2016. Henry, a hard-looking, muscular Puerto Rican man, heavily tattooed, earrings in both ears, walks up to the counter where Fabrizio sits. Fabrizio slams his cell phone shut, appearing frustrated.
You're ending your day with a call to Time Warner? Why?
Fabrizio gets up, pours a cup of coffee for Henry, walks back, spilling the coffee.
Here's my day, Henry. First, no cable. Second, sponsor shows up unexpectedly. Third, spilled coffee on my clean floor.
Henry smells the coffee, then takes a slow sip.
Tu café es perfecto. Relax.
The door opens to the AA meeting room, which is at the opposite end of the clubhouse. We hear people chanting the 3rd step prayer.
Bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help at thy
The sound of
power.
an army of applause is heard. People start to walk out of the AA meeting room. Fabrizio turns the music volume up loud. People walk out the door, some wave goodbye to Fabrizio. One gives him the finger.
Take your recovery with you as you leave. I'm closing.
Exterior, corner of 47th Street and 9th Avenue. Night. Fabrizio, exhausted, stands at the street hailing a taxi. A yellow cab pulls up. He opens the rear door and slides in.
237 East 118th Street, between 2nd and 3rd.
Fabrizio glances quickly at the taxi driver's rear view mirror. He sees the taxi driver, who's in early 30s, handsome, light-skinned Arab man. He taps his steering wheel to Ukraine's SKAY song, Love, which is heard playing.
Going home?
Fabrizio looks at the taxi driver's rear-view mirror and sees these intense, black, mysterious, sexy eyes staring back.
Yeah?
Alone?
If you must know, yes. Why, your rates go up for single people?
I drive all night long. Like you, I go home alone. I'm Jamal.
Jamal stares piercingly into his rearview mirror at Fabrizio. Fabrizio looks back at those large black eyes. Feeling uncomfortable, he looks away and stares out into the street as all the 3rd Avenue stores pass by.
Jamal, you're generous with your assumptions, aren't you?
Sorry, I didn't notice you were with anybody.
Why would you ask if I live alone?
There's something in your eyes.
It must be the mascara.
What, so you work in Times Square?
Yes, I can still command 2 bills on any corner, but I'm making this my last season.
What? Why do you speak like that?
I speak gay. I also run a sober clubhouse for hardened alcoholics who are resistant to change.
Kind of like a martyr for your cause. I could tell.
A martyr? What a weird choice of wording. You could be right, though.
Got a wife and kids at home?
Fabrizio looks at the ceiling, then behind him.
Am I in a taxi reality TV game show? If I don't get the answer right, I get kicked to the curb?
Sorry, no offense.
Why all the personal questions?
Jamal turns a quick right, off of 3rd Avenue, onto East 118th Street. His hands tremble a little. He wipes sweat from his forehead. He slows, looking out the driver's side window, searching for Fabrizio's address. He screeches to a halt.
It's just that I don't know anyone in New York. No one to talk to.
So that's your story. You're lonely.
Jamal puts his gear shift into park, turns around, and with an intensity in his eyes, looks right into Fabrizio's eyes. Fabrizio looks right back at Jamal's eyes with the same intensity.
Honestly, yes, but I'm not gay. You can't be Muslim and gay in Crimea.
Crimea, isn't that like 1 minute it belongs to Russia, then the next minute it belongs to the Ukraine?
Crimea does not belong to Russia. We Crimean Muslims are fighting against the Russian occupation.
I'm sure all of that means something.
nor do we acknowledge the existence of gays.
Tell me, are there any people who you acknowledge?
Fabrizio puts his hand into his left jacket pocket and pulls out his wallet, a business card, and a pen. He writes his cell number on the flip side of his business card. He reaches his hand into the driver's area.
Here's your fare. Would you like my business card? You'll find my cell number on it. I'm Fabrizio.
Jamal takes Fabrizio's business card and turns around. He smiles and looks one last time into Fabrizio's eyes.
Happy I met you.
You're not like anyone I've ever met before. Annoying as all hell.
Jamal gets out of the taxi and opens Fabrizio's door for him.
Allow me?
And who said chivalry was dead?
Jamal gets back into his cab, waits, and watches Fabrizio walk to his apartment door. Fabrizio puts the keys into the door lock, turns around, and gives Jamal a thumbs up and then a smile. Fabrizio watches Jamal drive away. His face turns pained and sad.
Is my loneliness that obvious?
Interior, inside Fabrizio's bedroom, night. Fabrizio's asleep in his bed. The small baby blue alarm clock on top of his nightstand reads 2:05 a.m. Fabrizio's cell phone rings. He goes to turn it off, but notices the caller ID is blank. He lifts the receiver.
It's Jamal. I drove you home the other night.
What's up? And please, don't answer with a question.
I'm driving a passenger near you. Is this a bad time to visit?
Do you need my address?
Fabrizio gets out of bed and walks to his living room and looks around.
What am I doing? I'm too old for this. Oh well, where's my silver fox shoulder wrap?
The living room is beautifully furnished with expensive antique furniture, a fireplace, and a mantel. On the mantel is an array of pictures. Above the mantel is a mirrored antique oak-framed clock that reads 1:02 a.m., August 1st, 2016. Fabrizio looks into the mirrored oak clock.
You're letting a complete stranger into your home at 1 a.m. in the morning. Again.
The doorbell rings. Fabrizio opens the living room door. Jamal smiles and walks in. He's a 5'9", medium build, light olive brown complexion. Thick, dark black hair cut short with bangs covering the top of his forehead. He sits on the couch.
Last night you said you weren't gay. They didn't exist wherever you're from. Why are you here, Jamal?
Jamal takes a deep breath. He grabs Fabrizio's hand and pulls him towards him. Fabrizio sits next to Jamal. They exchange a long look into each other's eyes.
That's only fair. Look, I'm not gay, but I know you are.
Not the best introduction, but that'll do.
One time doesn't make you gay, right?
Am I reading you correctly? Would this be your first time? God, that brings out the artist in me.
Fabrizio stands and holds Jamal's hands, pulling him up towards him. They walk into Fabrizio's bedroom and lay on his bed. Afterwards, they turn, looking into each other's eyes. Fabrizio slowly gets up and walks to his chest of drawers. There's a CD player on it. He inserts a CD.
Here's a song I played after you dropped me off. It's about the effect your eyes had on me as I saw them in your rearview mirror.
He returns and sits on the bed staring at Jamal. Fabrizio starts singing softly to Jamal the Chantel's song, Look in My Eyes, that is heard playing.
Look in my eyes and tell me you're the one for me, and that our love will always be.
Wow. Old school, but beautiful music.
I've always lived vicariously through music. Certain songs talk for me. This is one.
Fabrizio gets up and walks toward the living room, Jamal following right behind. They sit on the couch. They exchange their eyes once again.
How are you, feeling-wise?
I'm not sure. How am I supposed to be feeling?
Just feel only with your heart, Jamal. Do not feel with your head.
I have to get back to work.
So sudden, just like that?
Sorry. Yeah, I work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I got to run.
All right. Before you go, what's your number?
I don't have one for you.
What? Then tell me, how do I get a hold of you? You're married?
I'm single. You can't get a hold of me. My cell is used strictly for my family.
I love secrecy in a man.
Fabrizio and Jamal walk to the living room door. Fabrizio opens it. Jamal walks out slowly. He turns around, exchanging those eyes at Fabrizio for a few seconds.
I'm grateful to you, Fabrizio. You know, my first time.
Fabrizio goes to his bedroom and turns the CD volume up, then closes the door and leans against it dramatically. He starts singing another verse of the Chantel song, Look in My Eyes, that is heard playing.
I don't need much, I need a touch. Come in love with me, please, or darling, set me free.
Interior, inside Fabrizio's living room, night. Fabrizio's cell phone rings, the caller ID is blank. Fabrizio picks up his phone, clasps it against his heart, sways around the room, and sings a few verses from Vicky Carr's song, Let It Please Be Him.
That's when the phone rings and I jump. And as I grab the phone, I pray. Let it please be him, oh dear. God, it must be him or I shall die.
Fabrizio answers the phone.
I'm in your neighborhood again. Can I stop by, say, in 20?
The doorbell rings. Fabrizio opens the living room door. They hug tightly. Jamal sits on the couch, motions for Fabrizio to sit with him.
You're my first gay friend. My muderis. Someone who will show me a new way.
We'll both show each other a new way.
Do you have a boyfriend?
I did. Paul was a long-term HIV survivor. He died 3 years ago.
And you've been empty since?
At times it's just unbearable. You don't know what it's like.
I do know. In 2014, Russia invaded Crimea. My father was a leader of the Tartars, a Muslim insurgency group that fought the Russians.
Give me time to comprehend all that.
The Russians killed him. The hatred that has possessed my mother and my 2 brothers towards Russia is the reason I'm here in New York.
You have a heavy heart too. Sad, isn't it? We're both powerless to do anything.
I'm not so sure of that.
Interior, inside the 9th Avenue clubhouse, day. People are putting up Thanksgiving Day decorations and a sign stating what hours Thanksgiving dinner will be served and the need for volunteers to help. Fabrizio and Henry sit at the oak dining table sharing coffee and donuts.
I have someone new in my life. He's a 31-year-old taxi driver.
You okay with the age difference?
That isn't what concerns me. He has such beautiful qualities. Handsome, sensitive, caring.
But...
The only time I see him is 1, 2 in the morning.
So you're a booty call. Nothing wrong with having a taxi driver around that delivers.
I can't get any personal information out of him. Nothing. Not even his cell number.
Why do you think all the secrecy?
He's Muslim. I'm his first gay experience.
I get that. The fear of being found out. You said Muslim. It has to be difficult for him.
There's a part of me that says it might be something more than that.
Then confront him. Ask him if he's keeping anything from you.
Interior, inside Fabrizio's living room, night. Fabrizio and Jamal are sitting on the living room couch eating pizza. The TV is on, but not loud.
You once said gays don't exist in Crimea. How can that be?
Recently, these Muslim terrorists made the family of a gay man blind him and throw him off of the roof of his home.
His death was for everyone to see.
And the Russian government is so openly hostile towards gays. Now you know why they don't exist.
When I was a kid, about 13, I went and confessed to this Irish priest about the sexual experiences I was having with a boy.
You felt guilty that it was wrong?
No, I went for understanding. That priest told me I was going to hell. I was ruining my body and I would eventually go crazy.
Not too understanding. What did we do wrong?
Fabrizio walks to the mantel and picks up the picture of a very young Fabrizio and his friends at the unveiling of the AIDS quilt in Washington, D.C.
My government had a deliberate role in allowing the AIDS epidemic to grow. They did absolutely nothing to stop it.
Flashback, 1988. Fabrizio and his friends are walking around at the unveiling of the AIDS quilt in Washington, D.C. They stop at this quilt they made for a friend, Chuck Peters, who died from AIDS the year before. Fabrizio places a picture of him and his friends on the quilt. They bow their heads and wipe tears from their eyes. Fabrizio cries uncontrollably. Paul comforts him. Cleve Jones can be seen in the background reading off the names of people who died from AIDS. End of flashback. Back to present day.
That year alone, the death toll from AIDS killed 175,000 Americans. It was considered a gay-related infectious disease. The federal government refused to help.
Fabrizio turns the TV volume up. Fox News is showing a video of a Russian-led bombing into Aleppo. A distraught man is pulling out a young boy from under the rubble of their home. The young boy is bleeding from his head and screams.
I feel like that poor child. growing up in a world full of violence. He just wants to play.
Fabrizio changes the TV channels and motions for Jamal to look at the TV screen. On the screen, Betty Davis starts walking up a flight of stairs, looks back, and says, "Fasten your seatbelts. You're in for a bumpy ride."
In this scene, she's being treated like she's paranoid. That she's wrong for thinking someone's out to get her.
She sounds gay.
Later, the TV screen shows the credits to Betty Davis's All About Eve movie. Jamal clutches Fabrizio's hand, gets up, and walks to the bedroom. Jamal turns the light switch off. Afterwards, Fabrizio lights a cigarette and props himself up against the mahogany wood backboard.
Why do you leave so abruptly? Why can't I get a phone number to reach you?
It's the way it has to be for now. Be patient with me.
I know a mystery is being played out. I just don't know how this is going to end.
I don't know how our story ends either. I don't ever want it to end.
I don't know where you live, your family, who's your friends.
My father's dead. My mother and 2 brothers are in Ukraine. Other than that, I have nothing more to share.
It's that bad.
Yes. I'm afraid if you knew everything about me, I'd lose you.